still triggers the special exception. The fact that it's split by Cox Road does not impact that situation.
Okay, there's a little restaurant right there on 450 called Fat Boy's Crab Shack, and everybody frequents Fat
Yes,
Boy's
I
Crab
know, we know Fat Boy's.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the parking there sucks too. They park on all of their driveways down 450, down into that neighborhood, and you cannot tell me that this is not going to happen with this church.
Same land, right on.
The same exact thing. That Fat Boy, and I go to Fat Boys. I try and get a parking space inside, y'all. But that is exactly what happens there. And have you gentlemen from the church, have you seen the churches in this area? Have you gone to see how big those churches are? St. Paul's Lutheran Church looks like a cracker box. Seton Parish is the biggest church in Crofton, which is probably a quarter of the size of this church. And you want to build a monument in here? It's crazy. And if you really wanted to be a neighbor, you would have done this beforehand. You would have come to the community and said, hey, listen, we're thinking about this. What is your all's thought? But you didn't.
Thank you. We've heard loud and clear about the parking. I think that's a great point that you brought out. I think you've heard from the engineers' responses. And I did say that you would go next. Like you're right here.
My name's Jane Cox. Our family owns the property that's opposite Cox Road, right next to Chucky. This is going to have a disastrous impact on our property value. We live in an RA zone. We have fought very hard for many years to try to resist the development, the overdevelopment of the south side of Cox Road. This is the beginning of Davidsonville. It's the beginning of the rural area. And this will fundamentally change the character of our entire neighborhood. And the snowball effect for development in the future it's going to change everything that our family has lived there since the 1920s. And I understand that it's an RA property. I understand that it's a permitted use, but it is not appropriate in scale, in mass, in purpose for a residential or low-density agricultural area. I think everybody's really focused on certain details. What's the road capacity? What will the sewer do? What's the widening going on? What's the stormwater management? But the reality is, the fundamental thing that I hope you're hearing here is that it is changing the character of our community in a way that we do not want. And I hope you'll really rethink whether this is an appropriate location for this monument. The scale is just tremendous compared to anything else in the neighborhood. So, you know, as a family that has lived here since the 1920s, we're really going to fight hard to try to not allow this to happen. I would also say that in terms of the offer to improve Cox Road and widen Cox Road, I think that if you took a poll of most of the people that live on Cox Road, we appreciate the rural character, the one-lane road. That's part of the charm of where we live. And we don't want it widened. We don't want sidewalks. We don't want a curb. We don't want stormwater management features that make it look like an urban area. So that's the fundamental thing that I think a lot of the minor details that people might be talking about, that there's something underlying all of this that I hope you'll consider very carefully and perhaps consider another location.
I was just wondering what your time frame is. You keep telling me that these are preliminary plans. So from start to finish, 1, 5, 10 years, what is the time frame for this?
Perfect world.
Right now, it's preliminary plans, and so we're going to look at the feedback that we got today. We're going to go back and to the drawing board, take a look at some very specific concerns that were brought up, some very general concerns that were brought up. As far as the time frame, within 60 days, if this meeting were to count, and the next one, which we're going to have probably within a week, I'm guessing, then we would need to have those plans moving forward. But as Jamie indicated earlier, we're not at all convinced that that's going to be within 60 days. It might be after that, might be in that time frame. We're not sure at this time.
What would be your target date if you didn't have
The building.
What would be the target date?
You must have a target date somewhere in your
Ribbon cutting.
Well, let me show you the slide. There's a slide that shows the schedule.
If I were a parishioner, what would you tell me?
When's this
When
gonna
do I
open?
show up?
And that incorporates.
The real answer is as soon as possible, but we have to go through the right process. And this is part of the right process. Talking to you, figuring out if we can accommodate certain concerns. We can't necessarily stop being a church, so we can't accommodate that. But we can accommodate, we're gonna figure out what we can do with regard to traffic, and we're gonna come back to you on that. This is part of the process. And so the answer is, as soon as we're done with the process, but not sooner. Quite honestly, I don't think there is a date.
Can I see that?
Oh, once all the plans are approved, and once we address the concerns, it wouldn't take that long to construct it. That's not the time-consuming part. The time-consuming part is gonna be to make sure that it's right, before we get to that point.
Can you define it wouldn't take that long?
Oh, that's a government project. No, the actual construction, I mean, if I guess, I'd say around 6 months, you know, yeah. It's not gonna drag on enough. Hold on, let me get some people who have an answer to right here in the middle.
I have a question. We talked about parking, but something that came to my mind. We talked about how large your congregation is, and you know you're limited to less than 300 parking spaces, and you also said a lot of your congregation comes from all around the state of Maryland. Do you have any plans to bus these people in? And if you do, where are you gonna park these buses?
So, at this point, a lot of key decisions have left to, there's still things that could happen. That's an idea I've thought about too. Is there a possibility of busing people so you don't have a traffic issue? I'll be honest with you. It's just an idea right now, and that's what we're saying. We want to hear your feedback. We hear, absolutely.
So the
We hear
church
traffic.
currently owns
We
no
hear
buses?
it.
You have
Okay?
buses or you do not?
We're going to see what we can do.
Do you own buses?
No, listen,
Does the church currently own any buses? I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the church leadership. Do you currently own any buses?
We have 3 buses.
There you go.
And they are not big buses. They are mini buses, please can I ask? That fits 12 people.
Let me just say this,
It's
because
a
I don't know
van.
if I'm gonna get the
And it
microphone back
makes
again.
maximum of 12.
What I wanna say to you is, in the spirit of being neighborly, what I would like to say is I will approach you after the meeting, I will give you my name, I will give you my address. I invite your family to come and stay. Come stay on a weekend at my home during rent fair. Come stay on a weekend when people are partying at Capitals. Come live in my neighborhood, in my home. I welcome you. I open my arms to anyone or anyone else in your church or your parish to come and live and watch my children go to that bus stop. And do that before you move forward.
Yeah, I appreciate that point. But we don't have that situation on Sundays. On Sundays, your children don't go to school. Please. That's what I'm saying. So we are not going to interrupt your activities.
Are you only using your
just
church on
because we
Sundays?
are coming to worship. And it's not compulsory that every one of you here should come to our church. We are in Lanham. People living very close to us don't come to church, and they are neighbors. And sometimes they also look out for us.
You know who lives
So
on the Lanham farm?
we
Usually people just like the Cox. I knew the Lanham people very well. That was
we
Lanham
bought
farm.
this
Farm.
from a family of yours. Very nice people of yours.
No, sir, you didn't. You bought it from the grandchildren of the grandchildren.
Well, then they live there too.
No, they haven't lived there ever.
Okay, but we bought it from the family. We did not intrude your property. Please, let's respect this.
You bought it from a family that doesn't live in the
Religious
area.
property.
No, sir.
Can I
Lived
finish?
in the Bahamas
Please,
his
please,
entire
can I
life.
finish? Now, we saw a religious property. We are religious people. We're looking for a religious property to purchase, to continue our activities. And we deem it fit to purchase it. Okay? Now, the law of the land, great state, does not require that we should seek you before we purchase the land. If we are new, we would have come and sat down with you before we could have moved forward. Now, it is done. That issue is past. Can we now, can I finish please? Can we now look forward, because we have the same right, just as you, to live in the same place. We have the same right, just as you, to develop when you want to. So let's look at the requirements of the county so that we can address them, so that we don't impact you negatively. That's what we are here for. And please,
I just
we
don't
are
think you
not
understand that
moving
you
forward
would.
with anything.
You just don't understand that you may. That's what I'm trying to extend to you. That's what we've all been trying to extend to you. It's not about your right. We know our rights, and we know your rights, and they're the same. And we
Exactly.
respect
So
that.
we don't have
But
to
I don't
discuss
think you,
that
because
issue.
you don't
But
live
we
here,
have to
you don't
discuss
understand what the
the
impact
specifics
is.
of us being there, because you are not trying to tell us that we don't own the land. We own the land.
Building anything that vaguely resembles what you propose negatively impacts us.
So, Reverend, Pastor, I'm sorry, I just have a quick question about one of your services. It's called the Covenant Day of Trumpets, and it takes place on the first day of every month from 6 to 7 in the morning. A lot of days, that would be on a weekday, and that is the time when our kids, I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, are getting at the bus stops. So what safety precautions will you be taking when your congregation is leaving at 7 o'clock in the morning and our kids are all waiting for the buses?
This is not for all the church members. Those who are closer to the place are those who come in.
So there will still be traffic coming to church other days than Sunday?
That's on the first day of the month,
But
just
you
as you
just
saw.
said only Sunday, so how many
I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Earlier on at the very beginning, when we started going over traffic, information, of course, I like traffic, I'm a traffic guy. We talked about using the national criteria. It's the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Their book basically talks about trip generation. And what we did, I didn't consider the parking space, what I considered the square footage of the church. And that's what the state highway requires and the county requires. And so using the IT trip generation manual, most of the trips obviously are on Sunday morning. However, there are trips that are assigned to the morning peak period and the afternoon peak period. It's about 20 trips in the afternoon peak period that are assigned to a facility like this one, according to that trip generation manual. So that was taken into consideration. And as you recall, on Sundays, the level service at Cox Road, what was level service A, I believe it was B, during the afternoon peak period, which shows that there won't be a problem based on capacity at that intersection. So let me go on and we're going to review.
Thank you. Just for a point of clarification.
Okay, hold on. Let me, as you're getting the microphone, Ruby, thank you. We have a strict time limit on our time here tonight. This library closes at 9, and
And you're taking up time off Chinese plate.
that's correct. Because we need to make sure we maintain order here. We have 10 minutes until we're going to have to stop, and we're going to have to clean up all the chairs. Our job is going to be to stack them all again so that they can leave at 9. So I do want to hear, and we can go to the next comment. Thank you.
Just for a point of clarification, Pastor, will there be activity at the church 7 days a week or just 1 day a week Sunday?
Thank you. God bless you.
Or 4 or 5 days a week.
And answer the question.
On Sunday, I'm going to the point, sir. I'm answering the question. On Sundays, if we are all going to be very honest with ourselves, the attendance for every church is not what comes in throughout order if you should have any activity. For instance, if you have a prayer meeting, do all the people on Sunday come for the prayer meeting? No. So please, let's not look at it in a negative way. We are a church. And look at us just as you are with your church. That just as you go to your church and you don't go and misbehave there, we will not come to this community to misbehave. First of all, we will live by the values of Christ to maintain our dignity, honesty, and integrity with you as a people.
It's the traffic we're
We are
worried
not
about.
coming to harm anybody there. And that's why we are holding this meeting, believing that you'll be very honest with us and let us know some of the things that you are saying. And then we go back to the drawing board and try to address them appropriately so that we can live peacefully with you.
Pastor, could you
Excuse
please
me.
just confirm with me one way or the other, will the church be be active 7 days a week.
It's never so. We will never be out there having service 7 days a week.
Not service, active. Or 6 days, or 5 days.
Our service time. This is
Not
let me say.
I'm sorry.
We worship Wednesday 7 p.m. and Sundays 8 a.m. And depending on how we go, maybe we can add 1 or 2 services. On Sunday. On Sunday.
I just want to be very clear because Neil is an unbelievably good communicator, but when he starts talking about traffic, I think sometimes he thinks everybody else understands what he's saying. He said at the very beginning that the code, when he calculates traffic for his traffic impact study for a church, requires him to calculate how much traffic is typically coming from the church during the week. And he incorporated that. He's told you that, but he did it in traffic engineer speak, okay? Now, then it goes into a specific question about which specific activities. They may be slightly different, but I don't think there's anybody here that assumes, and we're not trying to, that a church is mostly busy on Sunday, absolutely. But they're gonna be busy there. They're gonna do other things, right? His traffic impact study accounted for that, and we're happy to take into account specific activities and talk to you about that.
I have something about the traffic, please. 424 has a weight limit. You cannot put trucks on there. They all come up 450. Dump trucks, tractor trailers. Twice we've had to speed down the road trying to turn into our driveway because we were going to get rear-ended by a dump truck. You can't put more traffic on that road. When an accident happens out on 50, where does the traffic come for the people to get home? 450. You're leaving Cox Road, going down to Route 3, you got 2 traffic lights there. If you got 300 people coming out, it's going to back up past Cox Road.
Yeah, thank you. When we consider the traffic study, we look at a normal peak period,
You don't
a
live around
weekend
here,
day,
you know what we go through.
and a Sunday. When we did the traffic count, it was actually a person who was sitting there and looking, and we also count trucks. So it wasn't just a car count. We count trucks, we count cars, we count pedestrians, we count bicycles. It's all separated. We know exactly who went which direction, who made what turn. So that was accounted for in the traffic study. Thank you. And as far as, I need to make sure we get around the room. Is there anyone else who has a question? Let's go to the front. How about here?
Why such a large building? Why such a large building for 300 parishioners? And one of these gentlemen, I think this one.
It's 300 parking spaces.
Why such a large building? What's going to be in that building that it has to be so large and ostentatious?
Future expansion.
Thank you. Very good question.
The building is going to have some classrooms.
That's how they have to make the money.
So we're going to have some classrooms in the building. We're going to have the assembled space where the worship is going to take place. Then we're going to have oil rooms. We also, like the sprinkler room. Yeah. We're also going to have a cafe, for lobby, for people to have a coffee in the morning, and before they go into the service. So we're also going to have some other supporting rooms for the kids, just to make them more active. Yeah, we have like the 5 classrooms. We also have offices as well, for the weekdays.
Right, but that one church must be the so-called headquarters, and that's why the building is so big.
How many people does the church in Lanham hold? Yeah.
It's
a big church.
Oh, yeah.
Our headquarters is in New York, and you can check it out. It's on 310 Hampstead, New York. So that is where our headquarters. We are in 18 states of the United States.
How many people does the current church hold?
And our headquarters is in New York, and I'm just giving you the address. You can check it out.
Do you do weddings and other receptions and other things there too? Other celebrations, religious celebrations there?
Definitely. People marry in church.
So the only one in Maryland would be hosting then a lot of additional celebrations and receptions and all and services?
Your parishioners don't get married?
We'll be married. We will be married now.
Right. Yeah.
So every parishioner that comes to your church in Maryland will have the option to do like their religious ceremonies at your church, which will add to the activity that building will be. No?
No.
That's not how it works.
You going to go on the record for that?
We have a mandate, and if you have time, I will give you a mandate, and you read how it operates.
Pastor,
Thank you.
Pastor, can
Hold
you
on,
tell
sorry.
us?
I need to move on. We have 5
No,
minutes.
There's a question
I
that's
can
been
no.
asked 2 times and it's not been answered.
No, hold on.
No,
I'm
I just
sorry.
want to ask the
No.
pastor exactly how
I'm
many
gonna go right over here.
parishioners belong to
We're
your
going
church.
over to this
That's the
question.
answer to that.
Yes, right over here.
Spoken like a true politician.
Go
My
ahead.
understanding is that churches don't pay taxes,
Correct.
and so who's going to be paying for the road improvements and the traffic light, the police officers?
And the ongoing maintenance.
Great. So the question is about property taxes, and the church wouldn't pay. Churches right now are exempt from property tax. Unfortunately, weren't exempt from the rain tax, but that might go away in another But
Sure you'll work
who
on
would
that.
make the improvements that we're talking about on Cox Road and the XLD cell lanes on 4th? No. That would be a part of the development process. The church would need to build that and pay for it on their own. As far as the police officers controlling traffic along 450, the church would need to pay those police officers. That wouldn't be a burden on the taxpayer. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Okay, then we have
About that
just a
very
couple
same-
questions left. Hold on.
About that very same thing,
Sure.
follow on her question. That stop sign and that police officer that you pay for at the end of Cox Road is not going to work. You will have to put up, somebody is going to have to put up a traffic light. I'm concerned about, is that a taxpayer expense? And I'm also concerned about, because with my Uncle Paul, I own that property on that corner. Is that going to be an eminent domain thing? Is it going to go on my property? Or is it going to go on the property of the other 2 people that live on the other side of Tenleytown Road?
So the first question is if a signal needs to go in, and we are going to look at that.
And it will.
It may. And the state highway has to approve it. I think some church would love to have it, but the state highway has to say yes, this meets signal warrants, and yes, we want it. It's their road. If it goes in as a part of the development, then the church would be responsible to pay for that signal, install that signal, and buy the land for that signal. So unless it's, well, there may be enough right-of-way to put the signal there, but there may not be. If there's not, you're going to have to buy the land where they're going to put the signal poles, the cabinet, all the amenities that would go along with the signal.
Let me address the property tax thing. Property taxes, churches are exempt from property taxes, that's true. But development and fees and everything else associated with it is on the developer. And in this case, the developer is a church. It's a completely separate issue from the ongoing matter of property taxes. Once it's built, they will not be paying property taxes.
Now, talking about taxes, we are out of time. We are going to have another meeting, and we do have to stack all these chairs, otherwise the librarians are really going to get mad at us. And I want to say,
One thing.
sorry, go ahead, wait,
I'd like
wait.
to apologize to the members of your church for what was said earlier. And I'm sorry that you're embarrassed that we have anyone that we say such things, because I don't know if anyone who talks to me.
And I want to thank everyone. You know, I know there's.
At 9 o'clock. Computers will begin shutting down automatically 5 minutes before we close. We ask that laptop users begin doing.
All right, well, with that, I just want to say thank you. You all were very polite. We love to hear your concerns. Thank you very much for coming back.
And again, once this is posted, feel free to contact us, and we will come to you and talk to you individually about your concerns.